Hey everybody, Puzzle Max here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Sam Gear Orbit Cube. Obviously, I've got two of these because I knew when this puzzle first came out that there was going to be a lot to take care of, and because I didn't have a virtual version of this available, I wanted one that I was going to leave solved to help me figure out algorithms on, and the other one that I was going to scramble up and have as a solving device. This has been a great decision, obviously. It helped me figure out how to solve this puzzle. This isn't going to be a full tutorial. This isn't going to be a walkthrough solve. This is just going to be me giving you the tools that you'll need in order to figure out how to solve this puzzle. In my opinion, this puzzle is not nearly as difficult as it looks. It's just incredibly tedious because there's a lot of these little tiny pieces inside of the gears that are not only take a fairly lengthy algorithm to get in place, but because there's so many of them, and because they rotate every time you turn a face, there's just a lot of complicated setup moves that can come into place. The base of this puzzle is a 3x3 with internal gears that rotate these little pieces. Let's put a different color on this yellow face. If you notice, if I do a regular F turn on this yellow face, it rotates these gears as I turn that front face. So instead of this blue still being lined up with all of the blue over here, it's turned it one notch off. That plays true for every single face involved, and that's why these setup moves can get a little difficult, because you have to remember that things rotate as you turn faces, so you kind of have to find a piece and then figure out, okay, this piece is going to end up here when I do the next turn, so I need to make sure that it's going to be where I want it to be. That's the hardest part, in my opinion, is just kind of following the setups and doing moves multiple times to make sure that things are going to go where you expect them to go. The algorithms for this puzzle are not terribly difficult, but they do kind of base themselves off of a standard 3x3 algorithm, which is the corner piece series on your standard 3x3, which is going to move this corner to here, this corner to here, and this corner up to the top, changing the orientation of them along the way, but that's the basic sequence, which is up, right, up inverse, left inverse, up, right inverse, up inverse, left. That just swaps those three corners. And the inverse of that from this position, so instead of bringing this to here and using the same exact up inverse turn to start the inverse of that, I'm going to do the inverse of that algorithm from this position, which means that that up inverse turn will come at the end of the sequence. So I'm going to go left inverse, up, right, up inverse, left, up, right inverse, and then end with an up inverse. That's the basic idea of the algorithms to move these little internal pieces. And the hardest part is making sure that you do the middle move correctly and making sure that you just, honestly, the one I've messed up on most is remembering to undo that up inverse turn at the end. Because this is based off a 3x3, I will show you just a quick kind of way to begin things. You want to ignore these pieces in the middle, these little circles. They play no role in the first part of this solve. The primary goal of the first part of this solve is to treat it just like you would a 3x3. And I assume if you're looking at a puzzle this complicated, you already have some understanding of how to solve a 3x3. Use your preferred method. It doesn't matter which one you choose to use. They will all get you there. I do not recommend trying to speed solve this puzzle. It's very catchy, and because the gears do a lot of movement inside that you can't see, if you do some turns too quickly, you run the risk of moving one of those gears incorrectly, which could lead to an impossible state. So I recommend just kind of taking your time, doing a beginner's method type solve with maybe some CFOP or block building stuff involved in order to get things into place as a standard 3x3 solve would do. This is the easiest part, obviously, that you can have with a puzzle like this. So final step here, I'm just going to get these orange edges oriented correctly. Don't force pieces. If things get stuck, kind of take a second look, slow down, figure out where the catch is. I've broken this puzzle in quite nicely, doing lots of turns and moves and things like that. But when you first get it, chances are it will be catchy right out of the box. And you'll have to kind of take your time, add a little bit of lube, and then just make sure that things fall into place and can start moving like you want them to. And last but not least, get this corner oriented. And there you have it. So, like I said, the first part of the solve is to just treat it just like a 3x3. Because this has a 3x3 as your base, the setup moves can usually be easier to follow than some other puzzles, because you have edges, corners, and centers to guide you on where to put things back after you've done multiple setup moves and things like that. Again, this is one where you just have to make sure that you can follow the way these gears in the center rotate as you're making turns, so that you know that this one is going to end up over here after I make this turn, and that means that I have to use it in a different way while doing the algorithm. One cool thing here is if I do an upturn here, it doesn't rotate these gears on the top layer. It rotates the top face, but the top layer isn't rotated. Same with all of the others. None of those layer pieces are rotated, but the face pieces are of the whatever face you turn. So, as I said in the beginning, this is not going to be a tutorial, a walkthrough. I will not be solving this puzzle on camera. It would take a long time, and I don't really have the equipment or setup to make that happen. But I will show you the algorithms and the tools to do this. Will have a diagram on screen that shows exactly what I'm talking about. And I'll also have all of these algorithms written down in the description, and if I have room on the screen, I'll have them written on the screen as I'm doing them, so you can follow along with that. That's a big if, so just be aware that that may not happen. The way I've labeled this is each one of these pieces in the center, each one of these circle pieces, I've assigned a letter. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Plays true for all the faces. If you want to see the up, the down, or the back, you need to do rotations like this, so you can see them in the same position that you were seeing that front face. And if you want to see the... I think I might have said that wrong. I did. If you want to see the up or the down, you want to do rotations like this to see them in the same position that they were on the front face. If you want to see the left, right, or back, you need to do rotations like this. Yes, that's correct. Sorry, I said that wrong the first time. But this is the hardest part because it's tedious, it's going to take a long time, but I can show you how things move. The reason I chose the algorithms that I did here is because they move things on only two faces, which means there's less potential for you to have a lot of setup moves, because once you get one face done, you can use a single setup move. So say I've completed this red face. After I do that, I can use a single setup move like this to use these pieces and move them to the front face, and then follow up by just undoing some moves. Complicated, I know it sounds much harder than it is, but let's get into the algorithms. What this first one is going to do is it's going to move the front A, so A is here, to the down H, which is here, and it's going to move that down H to the down A. So when we're done here, we're going to have this red piece here. This white piece is going to have moved here. You won't be able to tell, but it will have moved. And this white piece will have moved up here. And the only thing that affects this algorithm is how many turns you do on the down layer of your middle move. The algorithm itself is exactly the same otherwise. So this is the right-handed version, and it starts with just a setup move, which is right, and then I'm going to do a corner piece series to move this, this, and this. So up, right, up inverse, left inverse, up, right inverse, up inverse, left. And then from there, I'm going to undo that right that I did at the beginning, that setup move. And you'll notice, changed a lot of stuff up here, but I've isolated this red piece on the bottom layer. Nothing else down here on this bottom layer has been touched. So that red piece has been isolated. So I can get that out of the way, put a new piece there, and then undo the algorithm to affect that new piece. So I'm going to move this D face just one down turn. That has now put that white piece that was here into down H. So that down H is now going to be the one affected. And here I just need to undo that algorithm I did first, because I ended with that left turn. Now I'm going to start with that left turn. So I'm still going to do the setup move with this right, but now I'm going to complete that algorithm, that corner piece series, but starting on the left this time. So left inverse, up, right, up inverse, left, up, right inverse, and remember to finish with an up inverse. And then I'm going to undo that right move that I did as my beginning setup move. And then the middle move that I did was that down turn. I just need to undo that. And you'll notice the red piece that was here in front A has moved down here to down H. And the down H piece, this white piece that was here, has come up to here. And the white piece that was here moved up there. That's really all there is to it. The only difference here is you can't just undo that sequence like you normally would to affect a different number of pieces, because affect the pieces in a different direction, rather, because of the way the gears rotate. So if I really want to do this, because I haven't moved any other colors, if I really want to do this and get these back to where they belong, I need to do a down inverse setup move first, because that way this white piece is going to come down to this white position, which is now in down H. This down H piece is going to come up here to what is now down A, and this down A piece is going to move up here to front A. So that's where the setup moves come into play, because these gears rotate. You have to set things up into positions that are going to be affected by the algorithm. So that same exact algorithm, so R move for setup, and then corner piece series, up, right, up inverse, left inverse, up, right inverse, up inverse, left. Undo that R move, so R inverse, and now I'm going to do the same thing I did. I'm just going to do a down turn. That moved that piece from where it was up here, and now I'm going to undo that sequence that I did to start with. So I'm going to do the R setup move, and then I'm going to do left inverse, up, right, up inverse, left, up, right inverse, and up inverse, and then undo that R. And that's put everybody back. Because of the cool way of this working and only affecting two pieces on this down face, I know that the direction or number of rotations that I do on this down turn in the middle of that algorithm is what affects how pieces are going to move. So say, for example, I do that same algorithm, but instead of using a middle move of just a D, this time I'm going to do a D inverse. What that's going to do is it will move the front A to the down H, and the down H is going to go to the down M. And that's just the cool way of moving this. And honestly, that's all you really need to know. There's a left-handed version of this too that I'm going to show you. And again, there'll be a diagram on screen that'll show you all of these letters that I'm referring to. And there'll also be all of these algorithms written down in the description, and they'll show you exactly where things are going to go. So take a screenshot of the diagram, take those algorithms, and you will have all of the tools necessary to solve this puzzle. It's just, after that, it's just a matter of using your setups and thinking things through. So let's show you the left-hand version. I'm going to do pretty much the exact same move, but on the left-hand side. So this time I'm going to do that corner piece series, but this time, instead of using the right-hand corner piece series from here to here to here, I'm going to use the left-hand corner piece series to start with. So from here to here to here. And that's just up inverse, left, up, right, up inverse, left, up, right inverse. I said left the first time, it's left inverse. And then I'll finish that the same way that I did, but instead of doing the opposite, true opposite, I'll just start with the right. So right, up inverse, left inverse, up, right inverse, up inverse, left, and then finish with an upturn. Same basic sequence, it's just the different direction. This one does affect different pieces, obviously. So instead of affecting the front A, I'll be affecting the front F. And the front F is going to move down to DC, and the down C piece is going to move to down F. And that down F piece will come up to here. Same basic algorithm, and it really is just no more difficult. It's just a matter of knowing what you're trying to move. So if I do left inverse to start this one off with, and then up inverse, left inverse, up, right, up inverse, left, up, right inverse, and then undo that L move that I started with. And now, instead of turning down, which you can also do, it'll just move this red piece to a different position down here. I'm just going to do a down inverse. And as you can see, it's going to take this piece here and move it into that position where this red one started. So this red one, this white one is going to come in and replace that. Now I'm going to undo that algorithm. Still need to do that left inverse as a first setup move. But this time I'm going to do that corner piece series starting on the right. So right, up inverse, left inverse, up, right inverse, up inverse, left, and remember to do the up to finish things off. Now I can bring this left back down and then undo that down inverse that I did. And as I said, the front F has moved down to the down C, and the down C that was here, even though you can't tell, has moved up to the down F, and that white piece moved up here. Very similar to what I just did, if I want to move this red piece back up to here, I need to first place it into the position that's going to move into that spot. So I'm going to move this here. So now I know this white is going to come down here to down C. This white from down C is going to come up to down F. And this down F is going to come up to front F. Same exact move that I just did, only with that setup move to start things off. So I'm going to go left inverse, and then up inverse, left inverse, up, right, up inverse, left, up, right inverse. Undo that left move, and then go down inverse, left inverse, and then finish the corner piece series, right, up inverse, left inverse, up, right inverse, up inverse, left. Remember to do that up move to finish things off, and then undo that L turn that I did as my setup move. Moved all those pieces back. So a cool, quick one that I can show you here, using both of those algorithms on the scrambled puzzle. So, for example, that first one that I showed you, we know moves FA. So this red piece, I know needs to go down to this red face. So the first algorithm, I need to move FA to, let's say, for example, down H. That will work because that's not red yet. So I can move this FA to this down H, and because down A isn't solved yet, I know that neither one of those is going to be hurt here. So if I do that first algorithm that I did, which is right, up inverse, left inverse, up, right inverse, up inverse, left, right inverse, and then do a down turn, and then do right, and then left inverse, up, right, up inverse, left, up, right inverse, up inverse, undo that right move, and then undo that down move. Got a green piece here now, which was A when I started that, and now it has moved down to here, into the down H position. Another cool spot here is I've got this red piece sitting in front F, which I know is a piece affected by the left-hand version of this algorithm. I didn't set this up, this just kind of I got lucky here so that I could show you it on a scrambled puzzle. So this this front F piece, I need to move to down C if possible. So A, B, C. That's already a red piece. Don't want to use that one. So let's do a setup move on this down, see what happens. By doing that, I moved a green piece into down C. What else did change? Where else is this going to be affected? So A, B, C, D, E, F. The F piece would also be affected here. I don't want to use that. So let's do one more turn and see what we get. Down C doesn't work, but this down C is going to move to down F, and this down F would come up to the top. Because this is red, and it's going to remain on a red face, I can use that algorithm, and it's not going to affect those pieces, because they'll still be on a red face where they need to go. The only piece that's going to change face is going to be this green one and the red one that I'm trying to place. So this is the left-hand version of this in use. So start with a left inverse, and then do up inverse, left inverse, up, right, up inverse, left, up, right inverse. That L move, and then a down inverse, left inverse, and then right, up inverse, left inverse, up, right inverse, up inverse, left, up. Undo that down move, and then undo that down inverse. Now we can see that's red, that green piece that was here, moved on up to here, and now I just undo the setup moves that I did on this D face to put everybody back where they belong. The 3x3 portion is still solved, and I have more red on this red face. As far as solving this goes, I recommend just going face by face, because you're going to have to use setup moves no matter where you go. I would solve everything on this red face first, and then move to an adjacent face, solve everything on that, another adjacent face, and go on around the puzzle from there. Once you get to the last two faces, that's where things are going to get the most complicated, because you will have to just kind of do some trial and error setup moves until things fall into positions that you can use. And you may have to move pieces to different faces so that the piece that you want to move is going to be affected properly. Again, this is not a full tutorial. This is merely me just kind of putting the tools in your hand and giving you a chance to see how to move these things around. Hopefully the diagram on screen was a little bit helpful, and that all of the algorithms written down in the description make sense and you can follow along with those. And hopefully these tools are beneficial enough that you'll be able to figure out the SAM Gear Orbit Cube. This is a fun puzzle. It is tedious. It takes a long time, but once you figure it out, you will be very, very content with the way things work. So hopefully that helped. And as always, happy solving.